So this could be one of the biggest weeks for the US economy in years. President Trump has been tweeting for weeks now in all caps, this one was at 1:39 a.m., about how April 2nd will be what he's calling Liberation Day. I'm a reporter at the Washington Post, and I have been trying to figure out what he is talking about. For many days, Trump's team had been signaling that there were going to be individual tariffs on individual countries on Liberation Day. But over the weekend, I broke this story in which we revealed for the first time that President Trump is pushing for a single...
Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be viewing different reactions concerning Trump unveiling 10% tariffs on all imports and reciprocal tariffs on dozens of nations. This move seems to have angered Americans, possibly seeing a recession in the future. Many fear prices of basic commodities and luxury to go up. Watch and listen carefully.
Across-the-board universal tariff of as high as 20% on everything that comes into the United States. If Trump goes through with this idea, it would be the biggest single tax hike since World War II in almost 100 years. We are about 12 hours from the opening bell, and while I don't want to be alarmist, I think there is legitimate reason to believe the stock market could react very badly to the news that we and the Wall Street Journal broke over the weekend.
I'm so glad I voted for Donald Trump. Now I have a president who's going to get the economy back on track. Donald Trump's economic policies suck. They just suck. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're just a liberal. I'm really not. His economic policies are just genuinely bad if you actually look at them. And I'll even give you this. His tax ideas are pretty decent. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay, no tax on Social Security. Those would all be great things if they were actually implemented. But then you look at the actual budget proposal from Republicans in Congress, and none of those things are included. But when it comes to his economic policies, they seem to revolve around tariffing our friendly neighbors and our allies, and then buddying up with Russia for our steel, which he just put a 25% tariff on. So to me, I'm not really quite sure how Republicans can look at Trump and say that his economic policies are going to help the country. They're not. They might bring back a few jobs in very specific industries that these tariffs affect, but when you actually study tariffs, they tend to destroy jobs on other industries that rely on the tariffed industry, and you end up with a net negative. So while some of his tax ideas are decent, and I would love to see them being implemented, when it comes to his economic policies, they're just genuinely bad. And then when you look at his month or two in office, and you ask yourself, what has he actually done to improve the economy? The answer is nothing. And I understand it's only been a month or two, and I understand that it takes time, but there's no direction. I mean, besides tariffing our friendly neighbors, there's nothing.
Trump says Liberation Day is coming to America starting tomorrow, April 2nd, and here's everything you need to know for you and your family. Most important takeaway is we are about to see major disruptions to the economy. This goes for groceries, automobiles, etc. As Trump imposes radical extremist tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and Europe, prices of goods entering the US are going to skyrocket for American consumers and for American families. This also includes the tariffs Trump is imposing on China, and as we all know, China makes a lot of goods that enter the US. If you're investing, expect major disruptions in the stock market tomorrow and for the rest of the week, as well as economists fear that we are being plunged into a recession by the Trump regime. I would fill up your car now as the price of gasoline is likely to skyrocket thanks to the oil that we import from Canada. There's no immediate solution to that, so gas prices may likely rise. Who knows how long this will last? Donald Trump has repeatedly backed down from his tariffs as soon as other nations respond, so hopefully other nations respond in a big way so that Trump doesn't hurt our economy and the rest of the world.
I'm so glad I voted for Donald Trump. Now I have a president who's going to instill new manufacturing in America with his 25% tariff on all cars made abroad. That's not what's going to happen. You see, companies care primarily about cost, and they're simply going to weigh their options. And American labor is so expensive that what's most likely going to happen is those companies are just going to continue to make their cars abroad and pay the 25% tariff. And then they're going to pass that new cost to them onto us through higher car prices. And that's simply because 25% tariffs might still be cheaper, most likely will be cheaper than assembling their cars or building their cars inside the United States. That's because American labor is expensive. The reason you have a good salary, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, which you're probably barely getting by with, but when you compare it to the rest of the world, that is far and above the average world salary. And that's because American labor is expensive. So these companies, they're not going to just switch everything to American production. They're most likely going to pay the 25% tariff and then pass that cost onto you through higher car prices.
Why are the Democrats against the tariffs? They're for every kind of tax you ever imagine. They love taxes. They love taxing the hell out of our people. Why are they against tariffs? Can someone please help me understand this?
Trump just announced a 10% blanket tariff on every single good imported into the United States. So what will this do? Well, yes, it'll absolutely raise your price for everything that you buy. We import roughly $4 trillion worth of goods into the United States. This means that in a best case scenario, it'll generate a whopping $400 billion for the US government, which of course will be paid by us, by you and I. It is not paid by the exporting country. It is not paid by the exporting company. It is paid by the importing company and the importing country and its citizens, because those companies that pay the tariff aren't just going to absorb the cost. They are going to pass it on to us. This is breaking. It is unprecedented, and it is a revert back to a time of isolationism. Now, he also did announce reciprocal tariffs, which I'm fine with those, to be honest, because if the other country doesn't want tariffs, just remove their tariffs. But when it's a blanket 10% tariff on every single good imported, that is crazy.
President Trump is calling April 2nd Liberation Day, when he plans to announce increased tariffs on a wide range of imported goods. The only thing the government intends to liberate is money from your wallet. Tariffs, after all, are a tax paid by American businesses, or really anyone, on the purchase of foreign goods. And it's a very safe bet that when a tax is paid, that a lot of it's going to get passed on to consumers. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to be taxed or by how much, but President Trump has provided us a few clues. He's already announced, for example, that he's going to impose 25% tariffs on imported cars and auto parts. We're supposed to see 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. There's talk of tariffs on countries that import oil from Venezuela. There's talk of tariffs on imports of agricultural products. And there's talk of tariffs on goods from countries that Trump has accused of having unfairly high tariffs. Apparently, if other countries decide to punish themselves through high tariffs, then we're just going to do the same thing. So get ready, consumers, because prices are going up.
Oh my goodness, the bedwetters, the pee in their pants at night, all the Wall Street, they're at it again. All the weak-kneed Republicans with no spine, they're all nervous. The stock market went down a couple of points today. They're all whining. They're going on Squawk Box. They're calling up Letnick. They're calling up Bessner. Oh my God, the stocks are down. These tariffs, we got to do something about it. Shut up. Just be quiet. The tariffs are going to revitalize the United States economy, our sovereignty, and jobs. The jobs report is going to come out this week. It's going to be through the roof. We're adding jobs like crazy. This is what you got to look at. Stop peeing your pants because the stock market goes down by 2 o'clock in the afternoon one day. You've got to be able to stand up to this and get through it. Country is going bankrupt. Our jobs are going away. We've got to fix this. Now let's talk about DOGE, okay? Here's the purpose of DOGE. Save America. Solvency. It's solvency. We are going bankrupt. Do you know that by 2055, our debt payment will outweigh our gross domestic product at this range? We don't want to cut anything. We don't want to cut a single benefit. Nobody's talking about cutting benefits. The purpose of DOGE is to cut out the fat, the waste, the corruption in order to save our benefit programs, to save Social Security, to save Medicare, save Medicaid, save the things that people are depending on, because we got to get rid of the waste. You look at Kennedy and HHS. He says, I'm going to cut out 20,000 people, which is 25% of my entire agency. 25%, go from 82 to 62. There'll be zero impact on service or benefits. Zero. Well, what do those 20,000 people do? Oh, nothing, because they stayed home and went on Zoom twice a day. How do you cut out 25% of your staff and it has no impact? Because it doesn't. That's exactly what they are doing.
I think anything could happen. All right, Cenk. Look, I get the overarching ambition of Trump here, where he wants to bring manufacturing back to the United States, and he's using a very blunt instrument to do it. And he did deploy tariffs reasonably successfully in his first term. I mean, do you agree with the principle that America is too riddled with debt? That's got to come down. And it's lost too much manufacturing. That's got to come back. So you may not agree necessarily with what he's doing with the tariffs. I'm sure you don't. But the principle behind it is not necessarily a bad one.
Yeah, as usual, if he did it with a scalpel, it might work, but he's doing it with a hatchet or perhaps with Elon's chainsaw. And that's the problem here. So can reciprocal tariffs work? Yes, but you've got to be careful in which industries you're affecting. You've got to think it through, strategize. It doesn't look like they did that. So they're just doing it across the board without being surgical, tactical, or strategic. So there's a couple of reasons why they're doing it, but the one is by far the most important. Trump's always liked tariffs. He's always believed that tariffs are going to magically repair everything in the country. No, they're not magic. They have upsides and downsides. In some cases, they make sense to protect manufacturing. In other cases, they don't, because they lead to inflation and stagflation. So number two is he uses it as a negotiating tactic. He's used that a lot, but now people are starting to call his bluff. And I'm actually a little bit worried that this is actually going to be a stimulus for the rest of the world to unite against us, because they have no choice. The European Union, Canada, Mexico, Japan, etc. South Korea will have to say, how are we going to respond to America? How are we going to respond against America? And I don't like them being united against us. I think that's counterproductive. But most importantly, Piers, none of this is going to last. He said, oh, this is going to last for years and years. There's no way that's going to happen. So it's way too much of a hatchet. And it'll hurt the stock market in the short run, the mid run, the long run, etc. His donors will rebel. They're already rebelling, etc. But all of this is actually just a ruse to pass that $4.5 trillion tax cut, because they want to be able to say what you guys just talked about. Oh no, the tariffs will magically bring us $6 trillion over a decade. So don't worry about that $4.5 trillion we're going to funnel to all of our donors, to Elon Musk, to Donald Trump, and to all the richest people in the country, and to corporations. That's what all of this tariff nonsense is about. That's what the gold card nonsense is about. That's what DOGE nonsense is all about. It's all to say, oh, don't worry about how we're going to blow up the debt and the deficit by doing another gigantic tax cut for the rich and for corporations.
Trump has issued reciprocal tariffs today. I'm going to read you the first page. Something interesting though, these are actually discounted reciprocal tariffs in most cases. So I'm going to read you what they're tariffing us, and then I'm going to read you what we're responding with after that. So China, 67%, we're responding with 34%. The EU, 39%, we're responding with 20%. Vietnam, 90%, we're responding with 46%. Taiwan, 64%, we're responding with 32%. Japan, 46%, we're responding with 24%. India, 52%, we're responding with 26%. South Korea, 50%, we're responding with 25%. Thailand, 72%, we're responding with 36%. Switzerland, 61%, we're responding with 31%. Indonesia, 64%, we're responding with 32%. Malaysia's 47%, we're responding with 24%. Cambodia is 97%, we're responding with 49%. The UK is 10%, we're responding with 10%. South Africa, 60%, we're responding with 30%. Brazil's 10%, we're responding with 10%. Bangladesh is 74%, we're responding with 37%. Singapore's 10%, we're responding with 10%. Israel's 33%, we're responding with 17%. The Philippines is 34%, we're responding with 17%. Chile is 10%, we're responding with 10%. Australia's 10%, we're also responding with 10%. Pakistan is 58%, we're responding with 29%. Turkey's 10%, we're responding with 10%. Sri Lanka's 88%, we're responding with 44%. And Colombia's 10%, we're responding with 10%.
Having watched these videos, we see how Americans are hurt on the Liberation Day tariffs. Is this a great move to make America wealthy again, or make America great again? Leave a comment and make sure to like, subscribe and share. Happy Liberation Day, America.